Hello and welcome to Word TV. I'm Anastasia Tabanos. While at HostingCon, we had the opportunity to catch up with executives from Rackspace Managed Hosting, Exo Communications, and the newly merged The Planet and EV1 Servers, and put them side by side on a panel as Isabel Wang prompted them to discuss everything from the general state of the industry to the intimate details of their companies. Here's part one of an exclusive Word TV Roundtable discussion.
Today we have three panelists. Could you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. Lou Moorman, Senior Vice President of Strategy, Rackspace Managed Hosting. We are a complex managed hoster based in San Antonio, Texas, with about 1,000 employees today.
I'm Barbara Brandeman. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of the Concentric Hosting Business Unit at Exo Communications, which is an East Coast-based nationwide provider of access services as well as hosting and application services to small to medium enterprises. Specifically, the Concentric business is located in San Jose, California, where I have my team of about 144 people.
My name is Doug Irwin. I'm the new Chairman and CEO of a combined company of Planet and EV1. We're web hosting. We're located in Dallas and Houston, Texas.
So Doug, you're brand new to the industry. You've only been on the job for 3 days. Could you tell us how you see the industry from a newcomer's perspective? What do you think the opportunities are, and how do you think things are going in the space?
Okay, again, preface that with the fact that I'm new to the industry, but I've spent a little time in watching what's happened, and I think this industry started really back before the dot-com boom, where people were starting to look for excess capacity to run their infrastructure. And I think this business has had two lives. It had one during the dot-com boom, and then people overbuilt, and I think they weren't focused as much on the profitability side. They were more on the scale and revenue. And I think there's a resurgence today, and I think the three of us on this panel represent three very distinct business opportunities in the space. Mine, the company that I represent, more in the hosting infrastructure for a lot of small and medium-sized individuals, and my partners on the panel here represent different ends of it. But I think I joined because I think there's an exciting opportunity and a unique opportunity that a company like Planet and EV1 can capitalize on. A lot of it has to do with cost control, a lot of it has to do with scalability, a lot of it has to do with good creative automation and being able to provide things to people in a much more efficient manner, more services faster, more automation, and ultimately more control to the end user.
Barbara, you've been around for, EXO recently celebrated its 10th anniversary. How do you see the industry evolving? Has it changed a lot, and is it changing for the better or worse recently? What do you think?
It's definitely changed a lot. I've personally been involved in the business for over 8 years, first as part of the Concentric acquisition that Exo made back in 2000. And so having gone from being part of a data ISP and a hosting company, we did see during the boom a whole lot of growth, and everybody had a lot of paper wealth, and lots of new companies sprang up. And then after the bust, and we saw a lot of consolidation, and particularly telecommunications companies bought hosting companies, and I think a lot of those didn't fare so well. We actually were probably one of the more successful ones in that we have survived as a profitable business and continue to serve both Exo and other distribution channels. And I think it's very exciting to be in the business now. Over the past year or so, we've really seen a resurgence in a lot of different segments, from the colo segment to the applications hosting segment, for all parts of the market, including the high-end enterprise, which are served by AT&T and the likes, down to the segment that Concentric serves, which is really the small to medium business with applications. So I think end users have become more sophisticated. People are more willing to try things and put their businesses online. They're looking for unified customer experience and great customer support and high value for their applications. And they're much more discriminating, but also willing to try things than they were back in the early days of hosting, when it was only sort of the leading edge people who were willing to try putting their services online. So I think there's a great opportunity in all segments right now.
Do you agree with them?
I do. I'll tell you, I've been in the industry for 7 years, and I don't think it's ever been healthier. And I don't know all the things necessarily that are driving it, but I think a couple are, first of all, the first stage of web hosting was really about websites, and the boom was about websites. With the growth of end-user broadband, the need for big websites is growing and growing and growing. So I think there's a ton of demand there. Secondly, I think that the back office is starting to move to the web layer. So this is the SaaS opportunity that exists, which is driving a whole nother round of demand. And finally, in terms of the hosting space, we've had such turmoil in the space in terms of bankruptcies and really, catastrophic events at hosters. I think the hosting landscape is starting to solidify, and you have this great demand with sort of stabilizing supply is really creating a great environment for a number of players in the space, and it seems that there's a lot of momentum in the space. So, I think the future is bright. The business, corporate America needs infrastructure to run their applications. And hosting is a way to get that infrastructure reliably and quickly and efficiently.
Now, talking about software as a service, do you see this as an opportunity for web hosting providers or a potential competition? Let's think about on Salesforce.com. Well, they manage their own infrastructure. So will people choose to host with them, or will they choose to run their applications in-house on a Rackspace server?
I think that this, to me, Salesforce is no different than an internal IT department. The question is, what parts of the business are core to them? I think if Salesforce was starting today, they would take a much harder look at hosting because their strategic activities are around making that the best CRM application possible. It's not about running facilities. Hosting companies are investing millions in operational systems to run infrastructure, run networks, run security, better than software companies. So, we're seeing great demand from software as a service companies because they're realizing what's core to their business is building software. Just like IT departments are realizing what's core to their business is making the CRM app or the internal app do valuable things for their employees, not to keep them running. So, I think it remains to be seen. There are always going to be companies that are going to choose to do it themselves, but I think for hosters, it's really a massive opportunity.
Do you agree, Doug?
Absolutely. And I agree more than just from a standpoint of there's two businesses in the software side. One is to allow you to provide a better service to customers. I've been in that space since the BMC days in 1994 when we first coined the phrase of systems management and the idea of how do you take a very heterogeneous, complex environment such as the open systems world and begin to give tools to the end users to manage them. Systems management came along, security management came along. You're now starting to see hardware providers providing software that will manage not only their own servers but other people's servers. So this is an opportunity that in the hosting business, when you're managing the 46,000 servers that we manage, the ability to automate that does a number of things, not only to our own efficiency and ability to scale, but for our customers. As the comment was made earlier, the end users are getting smarter and smarter and want the ability to not just be a passive customer using the facilities. They want the ability to work on it as if it were in their own facilities. I think colos, I think hosting companies give end users an option they've never had before. The infrastructures the three of us are building in our customers, the redundancy, our ability to do that on a scale basis is a lot, it ties in with your comment earlier, Lou, on there's a lot of consolidation going on in the hosting business. You have some very big players who are beginning to build infrastructures that will give customers another alternative instead of having to build them in their own facility. And I agree with you on your comment on Salesforce.com. There are some companies that will never outsource core, but there are all those other adjunct softwares that they run, applications they run that I think are very good for our business.
I'm not sure Microsoft would agree with your assessment that software companies belong in a different layer from infrastructure providers. They themselves are building out, they're spending $2 billion this year on building data centers and putting up servers. And recently someone at Microsoft made the comment that in the future they see building an application on someone's platform is using their infrastructure as well. So it sounds like they're making a move into the hosting space.
On the contrary, I think that proves our point. There's a company that's looking at it as a massive opportunity for themselves that does two things. One, it's a business opportunity for them to do. They're big enough to spin off divisions and have focus on it and not forget about the fact that they're the Windows provider. But the second alternative is it's another opportunity for them to even solidify more customers to them because they provide not only the software but the infrastructure. I think it just makes another statement that says there are some big boys, and it's not only Microsoft, but Google and Yahoo are looking at doing this. So I think it says the hosting business is a hot market right now.
So Barbara, how do you feel about XO's competitive position relative to the Googles and Yahoos and Microsofts?